Hello all you freedom-loving people. The suspected pipe bomber made his first court appearance. The temporary block on the National Guard in D.C. was lifted. SCOTUS upheld the new Texas election map. And will President Trump be the first president to make a disclosure on UFOs? Okay, let's get into it. Today, Brian Cole Jr., the suspect who is accused of planting 2 pipe bombs on January 5, 2021, made his first court appearance after the FBI arrested him yesterday. A criminal complaint that was filed on December 3rd alleges that Cole violated 2 sections of federal law by engaging in the attempted use and transport of an explosive device. According to an FBI affidavit, Cole's cell phone data indicated that he was in the vicinity of the headquarters of the Republican and Democratic National Committees around the time the bombs were placed on January 5th. Financial records also showed that Cole bought several items that matched the materials that were used to make the pipe bomb. Investigators found that in 2020, he had purchased safety glasses, a wire stripper, wire nuts, and other items that are useful for making a pipe bomb. The FBI also noted that his car passed a license plate reader that was close to where the suspect was first spotted. And at another major event today, the 2026 World Cup draw took place at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., with President Trump, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum picking their respective nations as the world's soccer governing body selected 12 groups of 4 teams that will compete in more than 100 matches in 16 cities across North America next summer.
This is shocking.
United States of America. Excellent. Ball, please. Already chosen. Okay, let's see. Oh, Canada. Oh, congratulations. Y vamos a ver cuál es el equipo. ¡Viva México! ¡México!
During the ceremony, FIFA President Gianni Infantino presented President Trump with a new peace prize that was created by the organization. Infantino cited the Abraham Accords, the Gaza peace deal, and the Rwanda-DRC agreement. He said that these were examples of the leadership qualities that he praised in President Trump.
Let me hold. Fantastic. Excellent. Therefore, FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, awards the 2025 FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World, to Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in recognition of his exceptional and extraordinary actions to promote peace and unity around the world. Friday, December 5th, 2025. This is the certificate. It's yours. You obtained it in an incredible way, and you can always count, Mr. President, on my support, on the support of the entire football community or soccer community to help you make peace and make the world prosper all over the world. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, we saved millions and millions of lives. The Congo is an example. India, Pakistan, so many different wars that we're able to end, in some cases a little bit before they started. I want to thank, by the way, my family, my great First Lady, Melania. You're right here, and thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody. The world is a safer place now. The United States 1 year ago was not doing too well. And now I have to say we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we're going to keep it that way. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great time. And Johnny, a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Thank you so much.
And afterwards, with the performance of the song YMCA by the Village People, well, I think you know how President Trump reacted. Yesterday, a federal appeals court lifted a block on the deployment of National Guard troops in Washington. 3 judges on the D.C. Court of Appeals approved the Trump administration's request to pause a lower court's order that had blocked the deployment. Now, the order lifts the injunction that required the troops to leave Washington by December 11th. And it also allows President Trump to keep the deployment going. The deployment was expanded even further after 2 National Guard troops were shot near the White House on November 26. Hours after the shooting, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered 500 more troops to the district. National Guardsman Andrew Wolf, who was one of the 2 troops shot, is still in the hospital. In an interview with Fox News today, Pam Bondi gave an update on Andrew Wolf's latest condition.
I was there when the doctors all came in the room after they had done an angiogram. He has no blood clots. He's a miracle. And now he's able to open both eyes, severe injuries, but we are all continuing to pray that he's got a long road ahead of him, but we are praying that he makes a full recovery. And this was someone that the Biden administration, the monster, let into our country, let him walk into this country with little or no vetting, just like all these Somalis that Obama did, who are committing crimes throughout our country. And under Donald Trump, it's going to stop. We're going to find them. We're going to prosecute them.
The National Guard is also deployed to Louisiana one day after President Trump said that he would send National Guard troops to Louisiana. ICE launched immigration enforcement operations in New Orleans. DHS said in a statement that the New Orleans operation is targeting criminal aliens, including people released after being arrested for home invasion, armed robbery, grand theft auto, and rape. A senior law enforcement official told NBC News that a similar immigration enforcement operation has begun in Minneapolis. At the same time, the Trump administration is moving on with the travel bans. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem stated yesterday that they are considering expanding the list of countries that will be subject to U.S. travel bans, with the number of restricted nations expected to increase to over 30. However, she did not disclose specific countries. But she stated on X, "Our forefathers built this nation on blood, sweat, and the unyielding love of freedom, not for foreign invaders to slaughter our heroes, suck dry our hard-earned tax dollars, or snatch the benefits owed to Americans. We don't want them, not one." Yesterday, the Supreme Court ordered that a redrawn election map, which is expected to increase Republican representation in Texas's House, remain in place. Texas appealed the lower court's decision against its new election map on November 21st, and the Supreme Court moved into action just hours after that. Under the law, Texas was allowed to bypass the Court of Appeals and file an appeal directly with the Supreme Court. Justice Alito, who oversees urgent appeals from Texas, issued an administrative stay the same day that Texas appealed, and he halted the lower court ruling. An administrative stay temporarily preserves the status quo so that justices have more time to consider a case. Then, in less than 2 weeks, the justices issued an unsigned order last night. Justice Alito wrote in a separate opinion supporting the order, and Justices Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch joined him. But Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented the order. In their order, the Supreme Court majority wrote, "Based on our preliminary evaluation of this case, Texas satisfies the traditional criteria for interim relief." The Supreme Court said that Texas had a strong case because the district court made at least 2 errors. They said that the district court assumed lawmakers had acted in bad faith without solid proof. Also, the district court never provided a workable replacement map. The Supreme Court also said that Texas showed it would be seriously harmed if the lower court's ruling stayed in place. The majority also said that the district court broke the 2020 RNC versus DNC rule, which warns judges not to change election rules right before an election. According to the Supreme Court, the district court stepped into the middle of an active primary, and they created confusion and disrupted the balance between state and federal roles in elections. Starting this month, the United States has taken over from South Africa as the rotating chair of the G20. The United States will hold this role until December 1st of next year. The Trump administration announced a major change at the outset, revoking South Africa's G20 membership and inviting Poland to take its place. This decision was announced by Secretary of State Marco Rubio in a statement titled, America welcomes a new G20. In particular, Poland, a nation that was once trapped behind the Iron Curtain but now ranks among the world's 20 largest economies, will be joining us to assume its rightful place in the G20. Washington's decision to expel South Africa from the G20 was not without traceable signs. Previously, President Trump had repeatedly accused the South African government of committing genocide against the country's white inhabitants, and he raised this issue directly with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa during his May visit to the White House. The United States also did not attend this year's G20 summit in South Africa. President Trump explained on True Social that this was because the South African government refused to acknowledge or address the horrific human rights abuses suffered by white South Africans and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German immigrants. Additionally, Washington argued that during the 2025 G20 negotiations, South Africa routinely ignored U.S. objections to consensus communiques and statements. It blocked the U.S. and other countries' input into negotiations. It actively ignored our reasonable faith efforts to negotiate. It doxed U.S. officials working on these negotiations, and it permitted divisive agenda to dominate the forum. The U.S. further stated that South Africa's behavior during the 2025 G20 presidency fundamentally tarnished the G20's reputation. Additionally, the U.S. has expressed concerns over South Africa's diplomatic stance, including its engagement with Iran and its close ties with major global competitors. The statement reads, "There's a place for good faith disagreement, but not dishonesty or sabotage." Rubio stated that the United States would continue supporting South Africans, but not their government. However, Rubio also set conditions for South Africa's return to the G20. He said, when South Africa decides it has made the tough decisions needed to fix its broken system and is ready to rejoin the family of prosperous and free nations, the United States will have a seat for it at our table. Poland's invitation to join the G20 summit is based on its remarkable economic achievements. The country's economy has recently surpassed the $1 trillion mark, overtaking Switzerland and approaching the levels of Saudi Arabia and the Netherlands. The United States views Poland's post-communist transition as a model for emerging nations. Rubio emphasized in the statement, Poland's success is proof that a focus on the future is a better path than one on grievances. It shows how partnership with the United States and American companies can promote mutual prosperity and growth. In recent years, mainstream society has become increasingly open-minded toward UFOs. I recall just a few years ago when our channel discussed the UFO phenomena, some viewers would laugh at us, labeling it ignorant and superstitious. But the public's misunderstanding of the UFO phenomena is not entirely due to a closed mind. Rather, it's related to deliberate concealment by governments worldwide. In fact, as early as 70 years ago, scientists had already captured plenty of photographs featuring unidentified objects. A recent study reveals that scientists analyzing astronomical photographs from the 1950s have discovered mysterious transient objects. These enigmatic luminous phenomena appear in one photograph but vanish from the next image that was taken within an hour of the same sky area. It's noteworthy that these transient objects were photographed several years before humans launched the first artificial satellites, so they could not possibly be space debris that was left behind after humanity began its space explorations. Further comparative studies revealed that these unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs or UFOs, were observed more frequently following human nuclear tests. During such periods, UFO sightings near nuclear test sites also increased significantly. The study indicates that transients were 45% more likely to be spotted within 24 hours of nuclear testing. This finding was disclosed in a research paper that was published in October in the publication Scientific Reports, which is a journal published by Nature magazine. The research team examined digitized astronomical plates from the first Palomar Observatory Sky Survey conducted between 1949 and 1957. Scientists compiled an image dataset spanning over 2,700 days. The study reached a striking conclusion. Whenever a UAP sighting was reported, the probability of observing transient objects increased significantly. The research team noted that photographs taken between July 19th and July 27th, 1952, show multiple bright transient objects illuminating the night sky over Washington, D.C. And during this period, numerous eyewitness reports of UAP were documented. Media reports at the time stated that at 11:40 p.m. on July 19, 1952, air traffic controller Edward Nugent at Washington National Airport detected 7 anomalous blips on his radar screen. 2 of these blips were traversing a no-fly zone at a speed of 11,200 kilometers per hour, which is 10 times faster than the most advanced F-86 fighter jet of the era. And at almost the same time, Harry Barnes, a senior air traffic controller at the airport, watched the objects on Nugent's radar scope. He later wrote, "We knew immediately that a very strange situation existed. Their movements were completely radical compared to those of ordinary aircraft." Washington Post reporter John Keel captured a series of rare photographs along the Potomac River showing at least 12 luminous objects forming the Greek letter Omega. These photographs were later confiscated by the CIA, but they were preserved in the declassified Project Blue Book files in 1997. Experts acknowledge that these light points do not correspond to any known natural phenomena or characteristics of man-made aircraft. President Truman, when he was in office, mistakenly identified it as advanced Soviet weaponry, and he ordered the UFO shot down only to come up empty-handed. But little clarity has emerged about what Americans are actually seeing. Is it that these reports and photographs failed to attract the attention of the scientific community, or were scientists restricted from researching them? Recently, a documentary titled The Age of Disclosure has been added to Amazon Prime Video, lifting the veil of this mystery. The conclusion is clear. For decades, the government has maintained a strict cover-up surrounding the enigma of UAPs and UFOs that have appeared in our sky.
This is so secret. There have been very few people in our entire government that have been allowed or provided access to it.
Not only were ordinary citizens kept in the dark, but even many elected presidents were unaware. High-level officials in the film claim that the issue was moved away from presidential oversight, with defense contractors gatekeeping information.
This has been an 8-decade cover-up. The total list has to amount to 100 or more.
Presidents have access to all classified information, but it's unlikely the commander-in-chief reviews everything on any specific subject. Officials estimate there are billions of classified documents in existence, and as many as 50 million classified records are added every year.
Various presidents have been told, but many have not been told.
Retired Colonel Carl Nell was the Army director for supporting the UAP task force. Why would a president not be told?
There was a feeling that elected officials might not be sophisticated or intellectual enough to deal with that kind of complexity.
Director and producer Dan Farah said, "In the last few years, senior members of Congress, senior members of the administration, thanks to whistleblowers, have found out what's been going on, and they are now in pursuit of the truth for themselves and for the American people." This documentary took 3 years to film. Director Dan Farah interviewed 34 senior members of the U.S. government, military, and intelligence community, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He said, "Every single person I interviewed made it very clear that it was no longer a question of whether this was a real situation. It's a very real situation."
Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real. They're here and they're not human.
In an interview with Joe Rogan, Farr explained that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is concerned about China being able to reverse engineer the retrieved craft that they have before the U.S. And the most explosive testimony in the documentary Age of Disclosure also came from Rubio. In the film, he revealed details about unidentified objects operating over sensitive military zones.
We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours.
The documentary also cited several specific cases of direct contact with UFOs by the military. The first example is when witnesses before the House of Representatives claimed that in 1982, a UFO nearly triggered the launch of Russian nuclear missiles. The second example was about reports indicating that a drone-like UFO once locked on to a police helicopter over a military base before vanishing at high speed. A highly respected military intelligence official in the film stated that they had not only seen these craft, but also recovered non-human corpses.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
And Farr said that he thinks President Trump could be the first president to speak openly about this unexplained phenomenon.
I think it's only a matter of time at this point before we have a sitting president step to the microphone and have the biggest moment a leader can possibly have, which is telling all of humanity that we're not alone in the universe and that the United States intends to lead the way.
Could it be President Trump?
I think it could be. I think Rubio is one of the most informed people in the United States with regard to this topic, and right now he's our Secretary of State and our National Security Advisor, and I know that he considers this an extremely important topic.
However, Rubio stated that he was not a first-hand witness, and he had only received reports from various parties. When he mentioned those flying objects in his interview back then, he didn't mean that they weren't possibly human-made.
It was an interview that was done almost maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I was in the Senate.
Right.
So it wasn't recent. The second point I would make, I was describing the allegations that people have come forward with. I had people that came forward to us. Some of these people were Navy pilots, admirals, generals, whatever, that would come forward and say that there were programs in the U.S. government that not even presidents were made aware of. So I was describing what people had said to me, not things that I have firsthand knowledge of in that regard. A little bit of selective editing, but it's okay because you're trying to sell a show there. But the fundamental comments, I haven't seen it, but the clips I've seen and people have shown me are fundamentally true, and that is there are things, we know this has been documented, there have been things that fly over the airspace, restricted airspace, be it where we're conducting military exercises or the like, and everyone in the government says they're not ours. And so what I worry most about, just me personally, is that some adversary, another country, for example, has developed some asymmetric capability for surveillance or the like that we just are not prepared for,
So does extraterrestrial life actually exist? You can watch this documentary and draw your own conclusions. The documentary is available worldwide to purchase or rent on Amazon Prime Video, so you can see for yourself. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.